Let's go back for a minute and talk about how all this transition into his own words, the Lincoln's letters reveal.
I can tell you where it started.
What was you gave me your concept on your theory of Lincoln, but when you found out the letters revealed, how did that impact your overall view?
This started 40 years ago. I have a book called 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro with Complete Proof, written by J.A. Rogers, I think in 1934. And in this book, there are a couple of paragraphs of a couple of these letters. It never quite settled inside of me. There was always something inside of me that wanted more from what I saw. Because if those letters, if those paragraphs are true, then we've had more impact on the Civil War than what I had been taught in school. I didn't have access to the internet then, it didn't exist. So being as I never settled inside of me, I eventually began to do the research. And I found these letters in
What
there.
didn't settle with you? Let's start there. What was it that didn't settle with you? Because usually what happens is when you're being taught history, certain information causes a curiosity. What were some of those things that
It was an impactful paragraph. To the only way that this I'm looking at this book, the only way this paragraph can be true is if we had a greater impact than what I have ever learned in school.
Mhm.
And I want to seek out that impact. I also knew the Tuskegee Airmen, and then later on, and how they were squelched. I knew of the Red Ball Express and how they were squelched. I found out that in World War I, blacks did not fight for the American flag; they fought for the French flag. No battle was lost, no prisoner was taken, not one piece of ground given. That was squelched. So then I became more and more curious with those absolute paragraphs. Something inside the Civil War was squelched. And I went looking for the information.
what were some of the things with your information? I see you got your notes there that was acknowledged that Lincoln said.
Oh, wow. None.
Really?
There's nothing that I learned from the paragraph of those letters or from the letters that are in this book that coincide with what I was taught in school.
Give me an example.
Okay. The Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves, right?
No.
It did not. Right.
Yeah.
But that's what we grew up believing, right?
Right.
All you gotta do is read it. It only freed those slaves that were in the Confederate states that had already left the Union upon which he had no control.
Right.
Secondly, the Emancipation Proclamation was no more than a quid pro quo that Lincoln used to build the black army that he needed to defeat the South. Because he didn't have the soldiers. He needed these black soldiers, and he says so. But these letters were squelched. Historians
Did say something like that in the movie Lincoln. They didn't say it in Glory because Lincoln didn't really have a say so in that movie.